Hello and welcome. Today I have got my school satchel filled with books that are perfect for the start of the school season. So I know that school starts different times in different parts of the world and our country, but for me, where I live in the Northern Hemisphere, it is getting ready to be school season. And I know that we have school teachers among us as well as students. We've got homeschoolers who watch this video. And so I thought I would share some of my favorite books that either have headmistresses or teachers or have school as a setting. So there definitely is one among this that is my favorite, but I think I'm going to save that one for last. The first one that I wanted to mention, because this is, I don't know, it might be your quintessential headmistress story. And story is probably not the right word. It's probably like tale in a tome. And that is South Riding by Winifred Holtby. This is a huge, thick book. It is almost 500 pages for the Virago Modern Classic version that I have. In this, we follow Sarah Burton. She is the headmistress in this story. Now, forewarned, while being a headmistress and children and the philosophy around school and why school is important, and also how you go about teaching and for what purpose and in what way is explored in this novel. This also is pastoral as well as very political, meaning it gets really into the local politics of the area. So that is a big part of the thickness of this book is we are fully in the village as well as what is going on with creating laws. This also does explore human nature and not always the pleasant side of human nature. It also really has this real, authentic look at humans and their behavior and their choices and consequences. So very thick, heavy, dense novel that does have what I think to be is a very strong-willed and strong-minded headmistress in the character of Sarah Burton. If you are not intimidated, but maybe just not wanting to dive into such a thick novel of a book that isn't just school related, but also, again, has a lot of like law processes detailed in it. There are two other ways to enjoy consuming this story. Number one, BBC has a very long series from, I believe, the 1970s that is much closer to the book as far as being a TV adaptation. It really does go into the difficulties of, human nature as well as really into the politics. Some of the scenes you're literally sitting in as laws are being discussed and people being put in certain roles of authority. It's all part of it. Lots of different characters, lots of moving parts. That's probably the closest adaptation to this book. The second way is in a more modern movie adaptation. It's obviously a little bit more glamorous. It definitely gets away from all of the political parts of it and definitely makes it more of just the headmistress village life story. So, and that is the more modern one. So I will try to link both of those below so that maybe if you're not interested in reading this 500-page story on that maybe you decide that you'd like to try the movies or series first to see if you even want to dive into this. So that's the first one. Next, I'm going to highlight two Miss Read stories. Now, the complicating factors with Miss Read stories is that she has written huge, long series, and a lot of the books are part of these series. But I have read both of these as standalone, and I've enjoyed them, and I really do think, now somebody may disagree, but I really do think unless you're determined that you want to read the whole series, I personally think it's okay to just kind of pick and choose what it is that you're interested in reading. And there are sometimes standalones. So the first book to discuss here today is Village Affairs. This is part of her Fair Acre series. I love this cover. It just really does remind me of the beginning of school, because for us, we're still, when we start school, we're usually ending summer and going into fall, and fall is just a big part of the school season for us. So we've got our headmistress in this. We also have a headmaster, and there is concern in this village. There's chatter that the school is going to be closing, and that is a big deal for this community. And so this, I feel like, is more your little vignettes and little stories about the town as they are coming to grips with kind of rumors and gossip. But we definitely get the life of a headmistress in this, a very wonderful headmistress, very, sweet, down to earth, kind of straight shooting headmistress. And so Village Affairs, if you like that idea of being able to kind of pop in and pop out, you're reading a little bit and then you're going to come back to it, and you don't have to necessarily have this full, long, threaded story like you would, for instance, with South Riding, then Village Affairs is a perfect choice. If you're interested in a standalone that is also a misread, we have Fresh from the Country. This is a book that we chose for the Cozy Reader Book Club, I think, last summer. And in this, we have Anna Lacey. She is fresh from the country. She is not, she is I would say, fairly well-to-do young lady. Her family has means. She chooses to be a teacher in the city, and this is her experience doing that. So she ends up having to be at a boarding house where, instead of just giving her as much food as she wants, like what would happen at home, the boarding house woman is like scrimping on what they provide at tea and what they provide for meals. And so Anna Lacey's really kind of trying to figure out how to maneuver this new type of life. She talks also about the loss of green space and, the increase in population. These are all topics that get discussed in here, that throughout the whole story being wrapped in her working in a school and what it's like to interact with the other teachers, and, the scandalous life of some of the other teachers versus maybe someone that she's interested in romantically, all of that in this Fresh from the Country. I really liked Anna Lacey's personality, and I liked her perspective on things, and, not necessarily, while she could act spoiled, she chose to kind of say, okay, this is the way that it is. This is the life that I've chosen for now, and let's see how this plays out. So Fresh from the Country is a really great option as well. We also have Gervais Finn. This is the Little Village School. This is a thicker story than any of the misread stories, and it has probably a little bit more serious topics in this. Gervais Finn himself, as an author, has a background in working in the school districts in England and having a say in kind of how processes were established. And so I believe after he retired from that as school superintendent, he began writing these school-centric stories. So in this, we have a headmistress. She is also, I think, pretty opinionated like Sarah Burton. It's very possible that Gervais Finn read South Riding, because I do see similarities between our headmistress in this and her as far as like their determination to do things their way. So this starts off with her coming to the interview, I think, in red heels, and it's a little bit scandalous to some of the people, and yet she is chosen, and she does such a phenomenal job at this school. The reason why I say that there's a little bit of a heavier topic in this is she has a child with special needs who is in a boarding school type setting, because she is unable to care for her child as well as be able to work. And that's challenging. She goes and visits him, and we kind of get this feeling of this institutionalized situation. And while it's not necessarily like horrendous conditions, it's definitely a point of pain, and it's definitely something to think about and to consider, and even to discuss if you choose this book. Maybe read it with someone else so that you can kind of talk through that, because I do think that that does bring up some opinions and thoughts. But there's a lot of humor in this. There are a lot of quirky personalities and characters in this, and I really enjoyed this. I, unfortunately, for whatever reason, did not continue the series, but this is a quite a long series, I believe. And so if you like this, you could continue reading this series. The next one that I'm recommending it as a book that I have not yet read but really want to, and that is Villette by Charlotte Bronte. Let me read you the back of this. So, Villette draws on Charlotte Bronte's experiences as a student in Brussels, as well as her profound loneliness following the deaths of her 3 siblings. Lucy Snow, the novel's narrator, flees from an unhappy past in England to begin a new life as a teacher at a French boarding school. And soon Lucy's struggle for independence is overshadowed by her friendship with a worldly English doctor and her feelings for an autocratic schoolmaster. Bronte has written a strikingly modern heroine who must decide if there is any man in her society whom she can live with and still be free. This version does attempt to translate the many French passages. You know, sometimes we read a book in a foreign language and it's not been translated and we're sort of at a loss for what has actually been said. So this version is an attempt to make sure that we know what's going on in the French language. And last but not least, this is my absolute favorite recommendation in this whole video, and it is a short one, so it's something that you absolutely could find and pick up or listen to, and I'm going to share that as well. So that is James Hilton, Goodbye, Mr. Chips. I love this book so very much. So in this we have Mr. Chips. Obviously, he is at the end of his teaching career. So obviously not a headmistress like the rest of the books I've shared. He is he's a teacher, and he is basically looking back over his life. And we are learning about his life through his reflections. And there's this kind of perception that we're kind of getting that the students feel like he's like, you know, an old codger. He really doesn't know, you know, what's going on. He's kind of oblivious. He hasn't kept up with the modern styles. And yet, as we get to know Mr. Chips, we realize that he does have a better clue of what's going on than most. We go with his, you know, we go through his regrets in life, and I just think it's a very powerful novel. I love that our main character is older and looking back on his life. You know, sometimes we're reading about, you know, people who are young and just starting out, and all of that is fantastic, but I do think that there is a beautiful maturity in reading about a main character who has lived a very full life and is sharing that with us. One of the reasons why Goodbye, Mr. Chips is my favorite is I found an audio version of this on YouTube that is read by Christopher Plummer.
He remembered that day of his preliminary interview, sunny June, with the air full of flower scents and the plick-plock of cricket on the pitch. Brookfield was playing Barnhurst, and one of the Barnhurst boys, a chubby little fellow, made a brilliant century. Queer that a thing like that should stay in the memory so clearly.
Yes, that Christopher Plummer, who is Captain Von Trapp in The Sound of Music. He has played in other roles as well. I won't go into all of him, but he reads this to us. And I think that is also a big part of why I loved it so much, because I really do love him. I had a crush on him when I was little. I just think he's fantastic. And then to have him reading this and really kind of conflating him, older and, you know, at a phase where he may also be looking back on his life, to be reading this and being able to relate to Mr. Chips in that way, I just thought was just a beautiful combination. And so if you are interested in reading Goodbye, Mr. Chips, I will link that Christopher Plummer, if it's still available, that Christopher Plummer reading version down below so that you can click on it, because it really isn't long. This book is 140 pages, so it doesn't take long. You could literally listen to it in an afternoon if you so desire. So those are my 6 books that I have to recommend for you as far as headmaster, teachers. So let me know what books I've missed, what books that you've enjoyed that feature a teacher or a headmaster. I would love to know what is on your favorites, or a book that really stuck with you and is memorable that also features kind of a school setting. I would love to know. And then also let me know what of these you've read and which ones you think you might be moving to the top of your TBR. As always, you guys, thanks so much for watching, and until next time.